Hi guys. So this is the first time that I am doing one of these videos. So don't judge me too harshly. Um, Also, when my voice gets recorded, for some reason it sounds really weird. This has been like my whole life, so have that in mind too. Anyway, I am really upset. As you can see on my screen, there is a video that was posted up yesterday. I watched it, and then I had Jeff watch it last night. Well, now it's been removed for violating YouTube's community guidelines. I was going to try to show different parts of the video because it had me really stumped. I am a person that has studied geopolitics. I've studied history my whole life. I've studied different things throughout the years. My college title is in medical transcription, which means I studied anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, origins of disease. I did a semester of psychology, a semester of criminal law, just different things. When I was in school, my friends would get off during vacations and would say, "Oh, woohoo, we don't have to study," and they were so happy, and they would spend the whole time partying. I actually rejoiced, and I'd go home and study those things that I wanted to study, apart from what they made me study in school, of course, which was most of the time history. I have read a lot of history. So when you study geopolitics, you're able to understand why things happened in the past, why things are happening now, and you can make somewhat educated guesses as to what things might happen in the future. So this video kind of really threw me off yesterday. It really stumped me because it left me in a place where I could make no educated guesses as to how this might impact our future, politically speaking. I also could not place it in a biblical framework and into prophecy. So that also bothered me. However, I have the impression that a lot of the information they gave out on this video was true. First of all, because they had a lot of documentary evidence. Also, because there was a lot of video evidence, sincerely, and what they did was just kind of connect the dots for me, and it just kind of blew my mind. So saying that I don't know if it's all 100% or not, if in the case that it is true, it was really interesting because they started talking about how in the first year, and I wish I could show y'all images of these videos so y'all could see what I'm talking about, and it's been taken down, it's been censored. Really bothers me, really makes me upset right now. But it started talking about how in the first year of his tenure, Trump made several visits to several countries, starting with Saudi Arabia, and how when he got to Saudi Arabia, he made, let's say, an agreement with the royalty of Saudi Arabia. Of course, all this having to do with apparently, and this is a picture that they showed in the video as well, which was super interesting. Trump has a stack of documents, okay? And they were showing it on a table, and these documents were like 3-4 feet tall, and there was like stacks and stacks of them. There were several million pages there of evidence of things that some of these governments have been doing, what they've participated in, what they've failed to curtail, some of the very criminal things. So basically, he gets to Saudi Arabia, he lays these documents on the table, says, okay, you're going to work with me and you're going to do what I tell you, or I'm going to declassify all this, and the world's going to know what's been happening here. So the older king of Saudi Arabia kind of hands him the sword, which is very symbolic in that culture. A sword is always a symbol of power. And only the king is allowed to carry the sword, and they show pictures of Trump dancing around with this sword. And you can see the face of the elder king. He's very pained, he's very depressed, because he's just lost the keys to the kingdom, basically. But he makes an agreement with the younger Prince of Arabia, and he basically tells him, okay, you are going to be my spokesperson. You're going to go out to all these big tech companies and directors and leaders, and you're going to go talk to all these world leaders on my behalf, and basically tell them the same thing. I've got this stack of papers. You can either play ball with me, or we declassify all this stuff, and then, whatever happens, happens. So the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia capitulates, says, okay, I'll work with you. From there, so that also leads, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. So he's got the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and this guy goes out and he has conversations with basically the director of Twitter, the director of Google, Mike Bloomberg, and a series of other world leaders, getting them on board with whatever the plan there was for Trump. Okay. Now, if y'all remember a few years back, there was a journalist called Jamal Khashoggi that went into the Saudi Arabia embassy in Turkey, I think it was, and he unfortunately, or whatever, never came out. And people were throwing fits over it and going, okay, why isn't Trump persecuting the people that killed him? Clearly, Saudi Arabia did away with him. Why isn't he pursuing this? Why isn't he, demanding justice for this? So apparently, because he had bigger fish to fry with Saudi Arabia, with them falling into this plan of his, he did not pursue that, okay? Because at the moment, the death of one journalist was kind of less important than this bigger plan that he has in mind. So from Saudi Arabia, he takes off, apparently. He goes to Israel. His next stop is Israel. And this video seemed to intimate that the Israeli government wasn't really on board with this whole transfer of the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And he basically did the same thing with them. He was like, look, I've got all this information on you guys. Y'all can play ball or we can declassify. And it took the Israeli government about 24 hours. So Trump had to stay over in Israel for 24 hours because he wasn't going to leave without what he came for, which was their consent to do this. And so they got together and decided that they were gonna play ball with him. So they gave him a yes, and from there he took off, and his next stop was Vatican City. And they're showing these pictures of the Pope with different meetings with Obama, and he's all smiley and all happy. And then he has this meeting with somebody else, and he's all smiling. And then you see him with the Trump family, and his face, you can really tell he is not happy. And this is where this picture of all these stacks of documents come out. And so he basically puts these documents on the table for the Pope and says, look, we've got all this evidence of everything that y'all have been doing, the child abuse, all these things. And he makes this reference to, oh, you're going to need your red shoes. Some of you might understand the reference to red shoes. If you don't understand the reference to it, you might want to go and do some research. However, have in mind, if you do research on that subject, it's going to give you nightmares. It's going to keep you up at night. Please, when you do that, do not have any children nearby. Do not have any people that have impressionable minds. So have that in mind. So anyway, there's these documents, and a lot of evidence of what the Catholic Church has been doing, of child abuse, of all these things. And so Trump goes in there and says, hey, you either play ball with me, or I'm going to declassify all this. And then and then, you know, there's going to be consequences to this, because people are going to show up at the Vatican, and they're going to tear you limb from limb, because they're going to finally, there's going to be evidence of all these horrible things that y'all have done, you know, especially throughout the last 100 years and the last few years, and people are going to be upset. It's going to be a Russian Revolution scenario where the population shows up at the palace and goes in and murders the whole royal family, and so the Vatican doesn't want that. So he capitulates, and from there he goes to Brussels, and some of you know that Brussels is one of the most evil places on the face of the earth. There's been child abuse of every type that you can imagine. Y'all need to quiet down, please. Sorry, I've got children here. Some of you know that. So there's been all sorts of child abuse. There's been all sorts of satanic rituals. The head of NATO is over there. They have this big building that kind of resembles the Tower of Babel. So everything, it's a very evil place. And so he goes over there and he has this meeting with all these heads of state of Europe, and he shows up late. And he walks in there and he puts these papers on the table again. And he goes, okay, this is what I want, X, Y, Z, and here's all this evidence against you guys. So y'all can either play ball with me or we declassify all this. So then he comes back to the States, and so he's accomplished what the video explains, is that by every part of the plan that he is developing is that now, because he has, so to speak, blackmailed, we have some timers here for the purpose of homeschooling and breaks and stuff, and I had no idea this was here. So anyway, so by him having made all these agreements with all these nations, he has, in effect, the video said, become the owner of 90% of the world's wealth. So he is now the most wealthy man on the face of the earth. That really threw me. So all this to say, he can't be the Antichrist because he's not Assyrian, for starters. But is he setting the scene? Is he making preparations for this Antichrist to show up and start doing all these good things? And I don't really know how to connect the dots. This is why I'm saying I'm very stumped. I'm not being able to see my way clearly, which I normally do. Because, when you study geopolitics, you're able to extrapolate consequences and stuff. So I'm not saying Trump is evil. I'm saying there seems to be in the background, okay? And again, I'm not a Trump worshiper. I support him. I think he's done a lot of good things in the last 4 years. He lowered taxes. He did a lot for the pro-life movement. Defunded a lot of the abortion clinics and all these things. He, transferred the embassy to Jerusalem, which was something that had been promised over and over again, and nobody had done anything about it. He finally kind of doubled down, said, okay, we're doing this. So he did a lot of good things, in my opinion. However, I do recognize he is a man. He's not perfect. He's, made some choices in the past, but of course, who of us hasn't made bad choices in the past? Who of us hasn't made some really bad mistakes, right? So we grow and we learn. And to me, when I see all these black leaders going on and laying hands on him and praying on him, and all these Christian leaders and stuff like that, and he's permitting this to happen. I've never seen a president before that's sitting there with his head low and permitting all these pastors and people to pray for him, right? So I'm really stumped by this whole thing that now Trump seems to be the main figurehead in the world that has acquired obeisance and obedience from all these nations and has kind of brought world leaders to their knees. So if anybody has any ideas or any feedback, I would really welcome that. So another thing that I wanted to share with you guys, if I can find it real quick here, is there is a video, okay? Come on, computer. And it's curious because this video was not only like taken down from YouTube, it was taken out of my memory, my history of what I had watched, right? So there's these list of videos, right, that stays in your YouTube history. So there's this video here, and I know there's another lady that made a video about this, but I just wanted to show y'all again. There's going to be a close-up here. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. If y'all look at this, these pages are blank. Normally, these pages would have like the logotype of the White House here, right? Now, if y'all look, and I can make this full screen, right? No text on these pages, right? And notice when he signs, he's going to sign here, and you're very clearly going to see the ink of the pen, but there's no other words printed on this page. Like, look at the print here. You clearly see this page is printed, right? You see the lines of text here. Where are the lines of text here? There is no text. Look, he's signing in the middle of the page. Blank paper, guys. He's signing blank paper. No logotype, no text. He's signing in the middle of the page. Okay? Very suspicious. Very suspicious. Y'all remember Trump signing documents, right? He would turn it around. He would show it to the camera. You would see the logotype of the White House. You would see the text. You would see the big signage in the lower part of the page. And he would explain. He would say, hey, this is for this and this and this. This is, you know, we're funding, I don't know, research on autism or whatever it was that he was signing. Very clearly, you could see on camera. This is blank, guys. Blank paper. He's signing blank paper. I can't say it clear enough, okay? So why am I bringing this up? Why am I being so adamant? I truly believe that he is not signing anything. Now there's another curious detail here. Let me make this, sorry guys. Like I said, I've never made a video like this before. Okay, I know it's hard to see back here, but if y'all look in the window here, okay, what do y'all see? This is a truck, okay? Since when is a truck or any kind of car allowed on the lawn of the White House? This is not the White House. That's another thing that one of these ladies brought up in one of these videos. The White House has very peculiar acoustics to it. When you hear like Trump in the same situation, right? He's sitting there, he's signing executive orders. Apparently there's a certain amount of echo because the White House has very high ceilings. Okay, y'all can probably even hear it from me. This house that we're living in, this new house we moved in a few months ago, has very high ceilings, okay? So there's always an echo in this room. As much as I've put like posters on the wall and stuff, there's still an echo, right? There is no echo in this video. Okay, you can tell it's a small room. It's very cozy. There's no echo, okay? This is not the White House. Somebody has posited that this is the plateau, or however you call it in English. It's a movie studio that was used in productions of like The Left Wing or whatever, you know, shows that have to do with the White House. This is a movie studio that belongs to like Sidney Pollack or some famous Hollywood director. Okay, this is not the White House. So all this to say, there's some really fishy things. Good thing I told my children to be quiet while I made this video. Y'all can hear them screaming in the background probably. Anyway, children will be children. So there's some really fishy things going on here with the inauguration, with all these executive orders, with Joe Biden's sitting here in a movie studio. Y'all need to be quiet, please. Give me a few minutes. So I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I've seen enough evidence in the last few days that really makes me be suspicious of some of these things. The inauguration ceremony apparently was transmitted into France and into Spain 24 hours before we saw it here in the States, supposedly on January 20th. I know this is true because I have a friend in Spain that I talk to on a very regular basis. We talk like almost every other day, and she got to see the ceremony. And it was transmitted over there 24 hours before it was transmitted over here because somebody made a really big boo-boo. So that's really suspicious. There's also, she sent me a picture, and I'm not able to show it to y'all because she sent it to me on WhatsApp, and I'm not doing this on a phone, and I'm not very technologically savvy. But when you look at Kamala Harris be sworn in, there's a Bible, and on top of that Bible, there's like another book or a purse or something, and she has her hand on that purse. That's really weird. It also really called my attention. Now, I'm no expert in American history. I didn't grow up here in the States. I grew up in Europe. But the fact that the vice president or the candidate to vice president, however that works at that time, was sworn in before the president was really suspicious to me because I've seen other inaugurations and they always, Obama went first and then whoever his vice president at the time was, Joe Biden or whoever, or, Trump was sworn in first and then Pence. And so all these things, there's always, and y'all probably remember in history watching these inaugurations, and always the president figure is sworn in before the vice president. Why was Kamala inaugurated first? That was really weird to me. So there's all these rumors, right, that they're going to get rid of Biden and she's going to be president. And when they did that, that just really clicked with me. It's like, oh, this is just no longer a rumor. This is no longer, they're inaugurating her first. So when he passes away or he steps down or the earth swallows him or whatever happens, she's already been sworn in, so we don't even have to bother about doing any kind of ceremony because she was sworn in first, right? Guys, I've heard some really interesting videos from medical doctors who have watched videos of Biden, and they have come to the conclusion that Biden has dementia and very possibly Parkinson's as well, because when you look at the way he walks, and let's face it, the way that he talks sometimes where he just loses his train of thought or he starts mumbling all these really weird things, that's a clear evidence that the man is not all there, right? He's starting to decline. And that's not a criticism, he's an older person and these things happen when you get older. But I find it so ridiculous that the Democratic Party has put him in as our president when clearly he's got some severe health problems and very possibly going to pass away here somewhat soon, right? So that's really interesting too. So all this to say, there does seem to be some irregularities with this whole process that we've witnessed in the last few days. There does seem to be some things that are just not normal, that are very suspicious. If this video is true, that kind of connects the dots of all these trips that Trump did to Saudi Arabia and Israel and Vatican City and Brussels and all these things and all these agreements that he has with these world leaders, there seems to be a bigger picture and a bigger plan. That's what's kind of been shown to the public, right? And we know we can't trust the mainstream media. We know we're getting almost a theater play for the masses. Panet circus, like they say in Latin, right? Bread and circus. The masses are being entertained with a false story. So what's the true story? That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's why I spend time watching some of these, videos of stuff that's going on, because I'm just really curious at this point as to where are we headed, what's going on, all these things. So I think there's some pieces missing still, right? We don't have that third temple. We know that at some point the Antichrist is going to go in there. He's going to declare himself God. And then, that's the time when everybody runs to the hills. Now, by everything that I've studied, okay, it seems to me that a possible candidate for the Antichrist is this Erdogan guy who is in Turkey, because this guy belongs to a very weird sect of the Muslim faith, where they believe that they can be gods. And in fact, there are rumors that he has already declared himself God to his followers, because he is not only a political figurehead, but he is also considered a religious figurehead. In the same way that the Queen of England is not only the Queen of England, but she's the head of the Church of England, right? So she is a political and religious figurehead. So this guy, Erdogan of Turkey, is the same thing. We know that the Bible says that the Antichrist is going to be Syrian, right? So we know Trump is out. He's not a Syrian, obviously. I mean, he descends from Scots, Irish, and German, I think, right? So if he is Syrian, it's going to be, like 50 generations back? Doesn't really qualify. But is he setting a scenario here? Is he setting the scene for whoever that person's going to be, to where he's going to say, hey, I got all this, and now I lay it at your feet and start doing these things, right? Another scenario that I see would be kind of on the positive side, right? Are we getting ourselves in a place where for X amount of time, there is going to be a revival? There's going to be a little bit of extra time where, one of the things they mentioned in this video was that Trump wants to have a world economy where money is backed up by gold, like we used to have, 100 years ago or whatever it was. Our dollars were actually backed up by gold, right? If you had $1 in your pocket in the Federal Reserve or wherever, there was a certain amount of gold that would back up that dollar, right? Now we find ourselves in a situation where we're basically playing with monopoly money and little numbers in our bank accounts, and there is no gold or silver to back it up. So what Trump is trying to do, by what this video is explaining, is to have a more realistic economy where the money is backed up by gold and silver. It's not just monopoly money that we're playing with right now. Is it possible that we're going to have X amount of time, whether that be 4 years or 10 years, 20 years, we don't know, where there's going to be a certain amount of God's grace on humanity to have some time to kind of prosper, to have more time to go out there and win souls for the Lord, to bring people to repentance, to say, look, this is what we've, and I believe he's possibly sooner or later going to come out and say, look, this was the plan that all of these elites had, this New World Order. This is what they wanted to do to you. And this is what, by my making all these agreements with all these world leaders, this is what we have avoided. Now we have X amount of time to prosper, to, have time to bring souls to the Lord, whatever. Is it possible? That would be a wonderful thing. So there's two different scenarios here. Either we're lining up for the Antichrist to come on the scene here real quick, and Trump is, getting the wealth of the world to lay at his feet and prepare his ascendancy? Or is it a scenario where he really is trying to bring back humanity to a place where human beings really are free for X amount of time, where we can prosper for a little while, where we can bring more souls to God, more time for repentance, more time for grace, right? That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's what I would like to kind of see somewhat clear. So I'm a person, like I said, I've studied geopolitics, I've studied history. my whole life. And up until now, I've had a grip on what was more or less happening, right? I was able to extrapolate, okay, you know, this might happen here, that might happen there. This is why this is happening. This is coming from this past, you know, whatever. And right now, I'm just like in this black tunnel. I'm not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, which I had seen up until now. I'm really, really stumped. So I'm like I said, I'm upset because this video has disappeared from my history. It's a black screen like y'all saw for a good while there. So I'm not able to show you these images that I wanted to show you on this video. I had posted up on my wall. Hopefully some of you got to see it before it got taken down by YouTube, right? So anyway, I hope y'all, I haven't bored you to tears. I hope this video has a little bit of quality that y'all can see and hear somewhat well. And if y'all have any ideas, I would really appreciate it. Any feedback y'all can give me would be great. Thank you. Shalom.